The year is 1945. World War II, a conflict that engulfed the globe, finally comes to an end. Victory is sweet, but the aftermath leaves a world fractured. One such fracture appears on the Korean peninsula. For centuries, Korea stood as one unified kingdom. But the war's end brings with it a new reality. A line of latitude, the 38th parallel, becomes a scar on the land. It splits Korea into two halves. The north falls under the control of the Soviet Union, embracing communism. The south, championed by the United States, aligns itself with the West. Two different ideologies, two different visions for Korea's future. This division, intended as a temporary measure, deepens with each passing day. Mistrust festers between the two Koreas. Both sides yearn for reunification, but on their own terms. Border clashes become commonplace, a dangerous prelude to the storm brewing on the horizon. The seeds of conflict sown in the ashes of World War II are about to bear bitter fruit. The Korean War, a conflict that would claim millions of lives and reshape the geopolitical landscape, is about to begin. It is a war that few saw coming, but one that would have profound consequences for generations to come. The morning of June 25, 1950, dawns like any other. But the illusion of peace is shattered. At the break of dawn, North Korean forces surge across the 38th parallel, their target South Korea. Tanks rumble across the border, their tracks crushing the fragile peace. The invasion catches South Korea off guard. Its army, ill-prepared for a full-scale attack, is quickly overrun. Seoul, the capital of South Korea, falls within days. The situation seems dire. The world watches in horror. Images of refugees fleeing south, their meager belongings piled high on their backs, fill newspapers and newsreels. The United States, fearing the spread of communism, vows to act. The Cold War, a global struggle for dominance between the United States and the Soviet Union, has just found its new battleground. The Korean War, a conflict initially confined to a small peninsula in East Asia, has escalated into a proxy war between superpowers. The stakes have never been higher. The future of Korea and perhaps the world hangs in the balance. The invasion of South Korea sends shockwaves through the international community. The United Nations, newly formed in the aftermath of World War II, condemns the attack. For the first time in its history, the UN Security Council, with the Soviet Union notably absent, votes to authorize military action. A multinational force led by the United States assembles in South Korea. Their mission to repel the North Korean invasion and restore peace to the peninsula. Among the leaders of this force is General Douglas MacArthur, a decorated veteran of World War II. MacArthur, known for his boldness and strategic brilliance, devises an audacious plan. In a daring amphibious landing, UN forces storm the beaches of Incheon, a strategic port city far behind enemy lines. The Incheon landing, as it becomes known, is a resounding success. North Korean forces are caught completely off guard. The tide of the war begins to turn. UN and South Korean forces push north, liberating Seoul and driving deep into North Korean territory. Victory seems within reach, but the war is far from over. A new player is about to enter the fray, one that will change the course of the conflict forever. The dragon awakens. China enters the fray. As United Nations forces approach the Yalu River, the border between North Korea and China, a new threat emerges. China, fearing an invasion of its own territory and the presence of a US-led force on its doorstep, issues a stark warning. Stay back, they warn, or face consequences. The warnings are ignored. MacArthur, confident in his momentum, dismisses the threat of Chinese intervention. He believes that China is bluffing, unwilling to risk a wider war with the United States. He is wrong. In late October 1950, hundreds of thousands of Chinese troops flood across the border into North Korea. The Chinese intervention, a turning point in the war, catches United Nations forces by surprise. The Chinese army, vast and determined, launches a series of massive counterattacks. The UN offensive crumbles. Outnumbered and outmaneuvered, UN forces are forced into a desperate retreat. The dream of a swift victory evaporates in the bitter Korean winter. The war enters a new, more brutal phase. A war of attrition. The Chinese intervention transforms the Korean War. Gone are the days of sweeping advances and decisive battles. The war devolves into a bloody stalemate. Both sides dig in, constructing elaborate trench systems that stretch across the Korean peninsula. The 38th parallel, once a line on a map, becomes a killing field. Battles rage for hilltops and strategic outposts. Each inch of ground is fiercely contested. Casualties mount on both sides, soldiers and civilians alike. The war exacts a terrible toll on the Korean people. Millions are displaced from their homes, their lives shattered by the relentless fighting. The war drags on for 3 long years. Negotiations sputter and fail. The world watches, weary of the bloodshed, as the two Koreas remain locked in a bitter embrace. The hope for a quick resolution fades with each passing season. The Korean War, once a distant conflict, has become a grim test of endurance. Like and subscribe for more.